talk about that sequester. This is a situation that some economists say we'll be feeling in a gradual manner. Some critics say this is not going to be a big deal. Others are saying this is a very big deal. How do you feel about that?
Well, cutting spending is important because government spends way too much money. The way they've done this, and I did not support it. I voted against the sequester, which means everything is treated the same. There are so many duplicative programs. There's so much bureaucracy. Some of these programs don't deserve a dime. We ought to be taking money from them and putting it toward what we need to do. That's air traffic controllers, supporting our military, and so forth. So I don't like the process in terms of the way it is applied, but we do need to find ways to cut government spending, and I think everyone understands that.
Well, Senator Coates, the last time I talked to you, of course, was during that fiscal cliff drama at the first of the year, and quite frankly, you sounded and you said you were just very exhausted from all of the political posturing on both sides of the aisle and between the White House and Congress. With this new Congress in, has anything really changed politically that could get things perhaps more in a compromise mode?
We're about to vote on a spending bill that will fund government for the next 6 months. And that then sets us up to vote for a budget which hasn't been done in the Senate for 4 years under the leadership of Harry Reid. And using that budget, we ought to then go toward putting in place a grand plan which will address our problems for years to come. That's what we have needed to do instead of this cliff-to-cliff soap opera to soap opera drama that we've been going through. So I hope we can get to that. I've been urging that ever since I came to the Senate. We're closer to it, but we need to get to the real decisions to put our country on the path to balancing a budget and getting fiscally sound again so we can get people back to work and the economy moving.
Tell me, Senator Coates, President Obama had some of the congressional leaders literally over for dinner and lunch. How do you view that? Do you feel there's an honest attempt here from both sides on this issue to try to reach some kind of common ground?
I think it was a good step forward. I was invited to that dinner. I was one of 12, and obviously I was there for the lunch that the President came to and talked to our whole caucus. If the President is serious, if he follows through on what he said, then we can make real progress. And frankly, we cannot address this major problem without the President's leadership and support. So we have been urging him to do that. But it's time that we put together a bipartisan supported proposal which will deal with the long-term debt problems and deficit problems that we're facing and get away from this careening from month to month and who knows what's going to happen 2 more months. That's the challenge this year. We need to do it this year before we fall into another election year. I'm ready to do it. I hope the President is.
Another emotional issue, of course, after Sandy Hook has been gun control, and there is some legislation that's possibly going to be considered, but it will remove assault weapons from the equation. Do you feel that there will be any type of movement on gun control within this next year?
Well, the majority leader in the Senate has said he will bring up measures. They're still in committee. I'm not on those committees, but they're still fashioning what that ultimate package or set of amendments will be on gun control. I'm not going to support anything that violates the Second Amendment rights of Americans that are within the Constitution. I think those need to be protected. This is a complicated issue. Including assault weapons is not the solution to this issue. So we need to look at what is brought forth before I will make a final decision on how to go forward. I have some thoughts and ideas as to what we should do. We need a debate on far more than just the possession of weapons, particularly if that violates Second Amendment rights. We need to decide and talk about mental health issues, about those weapons getting in the wrong hands of felons and criminals. And we'll see what the committee poll comes up with and then look at it, analyze it, and then make our vote.
Finally, Senator, beyond our borders, North Korea, the danger there. Is there real concern on Capitol Hill that we are potentially seeing a threat that could cause us a lot of anxiety, and not only us, but the entire world, with the situation in North Korea?
You know, there's been so much focus on fiscal matters here, but overseas we have real threats to our security and the world's security. North Korea is one of them. Iran is one of them. Some of what's happening in Syria and the Middle East is of concern. I serve on the Intelligence Committee, and so I spend a lot of hours behind closed doors addressing and learning about what the real situation is. We need to be prepared. It's the first obligation of the federal government is to protect our citizens. These are very real threats, and we need to take every measure we can to ensure that we're doing everything we can to prevent them from harming Americans or being impacted against us.
All right, Indiana.